good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you are viewing from in the world. Welcome to the Silent Forgotten YouTube channel. I'm your host Chris, and today I'll be sharing with you the life story of and visiting the final resting place of the Canadian politician and entrepreneur Charles Jonas Thornton, May 30th, 1850 to July 2nd, 1932. This will be a new segment on the Silent Forgotten YouTube channel, which is called Famous Graves That You Probably Never Heard of, or maybe you have.
Charles Jonas Thornton was a Canadian politician and entrepreneur. He represented the electoral district of Durham West and Durham in the Canadian House of Commons in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, for 2 terms serving from November 7, 1900 to October 6, 1901, and again from October 26, 1908 to December 16, 1917. He was born one of 9 children to Thomas Thornton, 1823 to 1916, and his wife Susannah Powers Thornton, 1824 to 1881, in Clarke, Ontario, Canada, on May 30, 1850. His siblings included Laura Eliza Thornton, last name later Hughson, 1852 to 1936, John J. Thornton, 1854 to 1874, Benjamin Thomas Thornton, 1855 to 1929, Rebecca Thornton, 1857 to 1940, Helen Margrette Thornton, last name later Simpson, 1860 to 1932, Martha Thornton, last name later Souch, 1861 to 1953, Franklin Calvin Thornton, 1863 to 1900, Ulysses Nathaniel Thornton, 1865 to 1925, and Berenice Thornton, last name later Warder, 1869 to 1948. He was of English and United Empire Loyalist descent and was educated in the local common public schools. He worked primarily in farming and was married to Eleanor Hughson Thornton, 1852 to 1935. Together the couple had 4 children including Augusta I. Thornton, 1877 to 1967, John James Thornton, 1879 to 1968, Charles Edgar Thornton, 1887 to 1970, and Viola Beatrice Thornton, last name later Stewart, 1890 to 1915. He took up politics as a second career during this time and went on to be elected to the Township Council and served on the body for 7 years. He also served on the Durham West County Council for 5 years. He first ran for the Canadian House of Commons in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, as a Patrons of Industry candidate in Durham West during the 1896 Canadian federal election but fared poorly, coming in 3rd place with less than 500 votes. He then decided to run for a seat as a member of the Conservative Party of Canada in the Canadian House of Commons in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and was elected to represent the electoral district of Durham West in the 1900 Canadian federal election. He began serving his first term on November 7, 1900, but his seat was later declared vacant and he left office on October 6, 1901. A by-election was then held in January of 1902 in which his Liberal Party of Canada opponent defeated him with only 28 votes. He then ran for a seat in the 1908 Canadian federal election, this time having won with 3,387 votes, while his Liberal Party of Canada opponent David Burke Simpson, 1855 to 1926, had 2,764 votes. His second term in the Canadian House of Commons in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, began on October 26, 1908, and was re-elected in the 1911 Canadian federal election having won 3,291 votes, while his Liberal Party of Canada opponent Thomas Alexander Kelly, 1865 to 1925, had 2,567 votes. He continued to serve in office from that time on until December 16, 1917, when he stepped aside during that year's Canadian federal election so that the wartime Union government, which then Conservative Party of Canada Prime Minister Sir Robert Laird Borden, 1854 to 1937, had formed, could run Liberal-Unionist Newton Wesley Rowell, 1867 to 1941, as a pro-government candidate. He had served a total of 3,673 days, 10 years, and 21 days in office. Following his retirement from politics, he returned to his farming pursuits. He was also a member of the Distinguished Orange Order, or the Loyal Orange Institution, which is an international Protestant fraternal order based in Northern Ireland and primarily associated with Ulster Protestants. It also has lodges in England, Scotland, Wales, and the Republic of Ireland, as well as in parts of the Commonwealth of Nations and the United States of America. He passed away following a long illness in Orono, Ontario, Canada, on July 2, 1932, just a couple of days after his 82nd birthday. Following his death, he was buried in the family plot in Orono Cemetery in Orono, Ontario, Canada. His wife Eleanor survived him, passing away on November 9, 1935, at the age of 83, and she was also buried in the family plot in Orono, Ontario, Canada. Ironically, they had both shared the same birthday, May 30th.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Silent Forgotten. I'm your host Chris. Today I'm going to be doing a famous grave video for you. So, we are going to be visiting the final resting place of the Canadian politician and entrepreneur Charles Jonas Thornton, May 30th, 1850 to July 2nd, 1932. So let's get started, shall we? I will tell you first, the cemetery is very old. The burials date back to as far as 1841 and is still an active cemetery for new burials in 2024. I will do a separate cemetery tour another time, but I will show you around a bit today first before I tell you about our friend we're going to visit today. So as I said, the burials date back to as far as 1841 and is still very active today. Now this is the Lang Memorial Chapel over here, where I believe they still have funerals. This is a large cemetery, so I will tell you more about that later on. This is the Lang Mausoleum. As you can see, it stretches far over there. So just bear with me here. The person we're going to visit is just up here. Now, bear with me, get my papers out here, and I will tell you a little about him. So, Charles Jonas Thornton was a political figure in Durham, Ontario, Canada. He was born on May 30th, 1850 in Clarke, Durham County, Ontario, Canada. He was primarily a farmer, but was elected to the Township Council and served on the body for 7 years. He also served the Durham West County for 5 years. He then ran for the Canadian House of Commons as a patron of industry candidate in Durham West during the 1896 federal election. Climb a hill here, but fared poorly, coming in third place with less than 500 votes. He was elected as the conservative MP for Durham West in the 1900 federal election. His election was declared void in October 1901 and his seat was declared vacant. Here is a neat little one, sorry, just to show you real quick. So, his election was declared void in October 1901 and his seat declared vacant. A by-election was held in January 1902 in which his Liberal opponent defeated Thornton by 28 votes. He then returned to the House of Commons He returned to the Canadian House of Commons in the 1908 federal election, this time representing Durham, and he was re-elected in the 1911 federal election. He then remained in Parliament in the 1917 federal election, in which he stepped aside so that the wartime Union government, which conservative Prime Minister Sir Robert Laird Borden, 1854 to 1937, had formed, could run Liberal Union Newton Wesley Rowell, 1867 to 1941, as a pro-government candidate. He was also a member of the Orange Order. Now, he left office in 1917 and he returned to farming in Orono until his death, and he passed away in Orono, Ontario, Canada on July 2nd, 1932 at the age of 82, and was buried in the Orono Cemetery in Orono, Ontario, Canada. Now we'll just go back through the drive here. I'll go this way and I will go back up and show you where he is interred, and we'll pay our respects to Charles Jonas Thornton, Canadian politician and entrepreneur. Now, there are some interesting things written on the gates here, but I will read them to you when I do a cemetery tour number 2. This is just a quick video to show you the only famous grave in this cemetery that I know of. So he's just up here on this hill in that huge white obelisk there. So it says, in loving memory of Charles Jonas Thornton, MP, born 1850, died 1932, member of the House of Commons from 1908 to 1917, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord and his beloved wife Eleanor Hughson, died November 9th, 1936, aged 83 years, and they actually shared the same birthday. And there are some family members on this side. One was a lieutenant. Some other family members down there. And it goes right on the back here. He's buried with, I believe him and his wife had 9 children, and he had 4 siblings. Now, I will tell you a little bit more about him in the bio section of the video. And I will do some more video from here for you very shortly. Alright guys, I'm just going to go up here. I'll just scan around a little bit more up here to show you a little bit of the cemetery. And then I'll do an in-depth one in just a few minutes. As you can see, it stretches on for quite a while, all the way up there. Okay guys, that concludes this famous grave video. So if you like this content, please like, subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, and share the video. And we will see you on the next one. Thank you so much. Bye for now.